What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video, and welcome to your stimulus package update and daily news report for Thursday, March 31st. Yes, we're finally at the end of March. Now, I want to address President Biden's big move because what we are seeing is this could really impact gas prices. Now, this is also going to impact our future because President Biden's big move is he potentially wants to release millions and millions of barrels of oil from our strategic petroleum reserve. So, I have some big news there, but I want to address what's currently going on because Democrats are not giving up. Democrats want to give out stimulus checks. They want to make sure the American people can get through these tough times when we are seeing pain at the pumps. But they're not likely to get the support on a federal level. That's creating a lot of concern. One thing I can tell you though is that there are a handful of states that are working towards passing stimulus checks to their residents. And part of this plan is to relieve gas prices for their residents. Again, this is something that we've been seeing for quite some time, and I want to show you just some of the states that are considering this. All right, so let's look at this. Right here, we have a list of, 7 states. 7 states right here. Now here's what I can tell you. In California, residents could get $400 checks per vehicle as a direct payment to drivers. Limit of 2 vehicles. In Michigan, they're planning on doing $3 billion. In Michigan, car owners would get a $400 insurance refund. In Minnesota, they're planning on releasing $1.3 billion, and Minnesota's governor recently increased their relief checks to $500 per individual or $1,000 per couple. Pretty big. Maine, they want to release $682 million, and in Maine, their governor proposed an increase of their relief to $850. Pretty good. Let's talk about Kansas. Kansas is planning on using $445 million, and in Kansas, residents would actually be receiving a $250 one-time tax rebate. In New Mexico, they're planning on using $400 million, and residents there would be provided a one-time refundable income tax rebate of $250 or $500 for a couple. In Hawaii, they're going to use $110 million, and their plan is to issue a $100 refund check. Now, here's why this is so important. We are seeing that the federal government is having a very difficult time, especially in the Senate, to get enough support to pass any form of stimulus, any type of relief. Okay? Well, here's the reason why this is so important. Gas prices, they went up. Okay, we saw them shoot up. Now, gas prices have stayed fairly level for quite some time. Now, here's the issue there. If gas prices don't fall back down, it's still hurting the American people. Just because prices aren't going up further doesn't mean it's not hurting. Now, in a time when the personal consumption expenditures price index rose by 5.4% in March, many economists are expecting that more will come for the American people because we are expecting a CPI report in just a couple weeks. That is not going to look good. But economists say that the personal consumption expenditures price index, this excludes food and energy prices. So what we are seeing right now is increased inflation across the board, not specifically targeting gas prices, which many people were worried about. Now, according to reports, President Biden and the Biden administration, they plan on releasing oil. But how much? Well, President Biden is considering a major oil release from our strategic petroleum reserves. Gasoline prices have surged recently due to the Russian war in Ukraine, but Democrats have been looking for different ways to reduce the amount of money the American people are spending. And this is where releasing oil from our strategic petroleum reserves would do just that. And the plan is to tackle gas prices. That's the key. Okay, gas prices. Now, what we are expecting to hear sometime today, President Biden will talk about how his plan is to release 180 million barrels of oil. This will be done over a few months, likely 3 months, okay? Which means we're going to reportedly get released 1 million barrels of oil per day. Now, this is a decent amount of oil, but just understand what, back in November, President Biden did something like this where he released 50 million barrels of oil. Now, the United States uses about 19 million barrels of oil per day. So 1 million barrels is not a lot. And although this would bring prices down temporarily, many people worry this is not going to solve our structural supply deficit. So something like this could easily happen again in the future. But here's what you need to keep in mind. Remember I said the United States uses 19 million barrels of oil per day? Yeah. Well, what happens in the summer when we see demand go up? We see demand go up, but if we blow through our strategic petroleum reserves now over the next 3 months, guess what? Let's say I'm just gonna call us in April, right? So we go April, May, June. So starting in July, we could potentially see prices go up in July and August, to heavy months for travel, right? For vacationing. Yeah, that's an issue. But what exactly would 180 million barrels of oil do to the market? Well, once this report was released, the plan was released of releasing 180 million barrels of oil, prices for oil dropped almost immediately by about $5. Now, one analyst from Mwanda Asia Pacific stated that in the long run, this move will substantially reduce the petroleum reserves during the summer months when demand is normally increased, which means oil prices will follow. Exactly what I said. It's exactly what I said. That we know demand in the summer goes up. And so releasing the oil now would actually cause the prices eventually to go back up. We could see them start to fall. And they'd be, a little bit lower over the next 2 to 3 months, but eventually they would go back up. And an S&P Global official stated that this move will be insignificant. And this is due to Russia producing 7.5 million barrels of oil, million barrels per day of exports. So the 1 million barrels will still be less than what Russia was producing. And keep in mind that the U.S. itself, not in the world, the U.S. itself was purchasing 670 plus thousand barrels of oil per day from Russia directly. So the 1 million barrels is pretty much taking what Russia did, what Russia was providing the United States. But again, this is a world issue. This isn't just an issue with the United States. This is a global issue. So we're going to see what happens. But in times like these, you'd think we'd have more support, but we don't. OPEC is actually refusing to increase their oil output. So right now, according to reports, something has to change. Well, here's what I can tell you. Lawmakers are going to continue to push for different things for the American people. How can we get more support? The main thing that they're looking at right now is how can they provide support for gasoline prices. There's not a lot of support to give a stimulus check out to the American people, because by giving the American people money, physically giving them money, the problem is if everybody goes and spends that money on gas, guess what? Demand will increase. Supply stays the same, but demand would increase. So this is actually an interesting move, because if President Biden increases the supply by adding 1 million barrels of additional oil per day, if we see that increase, but demand stays the same, we could see prices go down. But if demand is going up, which it actually is, by releasing oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, what's actually happening with demand going up due to spring and summer months and increasing the supply, prices could actually stay the same. So it's interesting what's happening right now, but just understand that things are going on but we might not see much of a difference, all right? But that is what's going on right now. As always, as I know more, I promise, I'll come back on, share all latest news and updates. Just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.